Hello, and before we get into this video properly, I'd just like to say it's going to sound different because I've got a bad sore throat, and so I've moved the microphone a lot closer so I don't have to speak up. It's also recorded using fraps, so it's in 60 frames per second, and that's because Video Studio X8, which is the new version, will now export in XVAC at 60 frames per second. I'm recording in fraps because it's the only software I've found that will reliably stay at 60 frames per second. OBS and DxTory fluctuate too much, but fraps stays bang on 60 when I'm recording on my machine. So let me know in the comments what you think of the audio and visuals. Hello and welcome to a more in-depth look at ZAVOD by night. So there have been some major changes to the map. The major one is the moon. They've drastically reduced its brightness and they've removed the moonbeam effects, so you don't get the beams of light shining from the moon anymore. They've also reduced the mist level, so that's now at a much lower level, and it means that the hills and rooftops are not covered by mist anymore. So if you go on the roof, you are now quite vulnerable at getting shot by somebody hiding in the mist. So now they've fixed those, it's worth taking a look at ZAVOD from the ground. And in these first clips I'm going to be using a normal optic. I thought I'd use a normal optic and see if it's actually feasible to use one. And the answer is, it's not really. So in areas like this you can see because there are lights still on, but you shoot those lights out and it's pitch black. They've activated this generator, which now means that these really bright spotlights come on. You can't shoot those out, all you can do is turn off the generator. So that's the first of the mini lighting revolutions that they've put in. When you go outside, then you can use these normal optics as long as you stay in the clear moonlit areas. Areas like this are still quite bright. And that I think is for the recons, because the recons can't fit night vision to their bolt action sniper rifles. Once you get away from these areas, if you move into the trees or into the mist or into the buildings, then it becomes a lot less feasible to use normal optics. At the start of the round, when all these lights are on, you can get away with it. But when a lot of those lights have been blown up or shot out, it really becomes difficult to use normal optics. Even with all the lights on, there are an awful lot of dark areas still on this map. So if I stand here in the darkness, somebody coming from the light with a normal optic isn't really going to be able to see me that well, but I'll be able to see them clearly. If we go into the underground section, you'll see even more clearly how normal optics just don't work anymore. You can barely see anything down in this corridor. Now you can see the light from the area beyond it, and so anybody coming through would be framed in it. But if you look from this area backwards, down the actual corridor, you can see nothing. In fact, after a while it's very hard to work out which direction you're actually facing. So on these nighttime maps, you really are forced into using one of the night vision optics. And they've had a major upgrade in one of the latest patches. So if we take a look at the 1x IRNV Scope and go down into that same area, you'll see how effective this new scope is, even in complete darkness. So here we are, complete dark, turn the scope on and you can see every detail of what's around you. Sure, it's in a small area, but compare no scope to having the scope on. Someone running through here, not aiming down sight, has no way of spotting me hidden in this corner. But I could see him perfectly clearly. And it's a similar story for the tank's IRNV. It's had the same brightness and clarity upgrade. So now you can drive around with the IRNV on in a tank all the time. It's so detailed that you don't need to actually switch to normal view. You can just stay in this night view the whole time that you're in the tank. And this is a bit of an issue because it means that the tanks now have permanent night view for the whole screen. Sure, there's a bit of darkness in the corners, but let's face it, you've got full screen of night vision. The infantry are only getting their night vision when they aim down sights. Now this is a slightly bugged view of the FLIR. It sometimes comes up looking oval at the moment, whereas what it should be is this perfect circle, the same as the IRNV. Now the FLIR is nowhere near as distinct for the actual surroundings, but people and vehicles do glow really brightly when you see them in the IRNV scope. Now a lot of you that have watched my videos before will be surprised to see me using the lore, and that's because my favourite, the SRAW, is useless at nighttime maps. None of the missile launchers have any kind of night vision, and you can't aim them properly at something that you can't see properly. And it's a bit of an imbalance between the vehicles and the infantry. So here I'll shoot out the repairer, and what you'll notice is even at this range it's really hard to spot that tank. In fact, the second shot I fire at it, I wasn't actually shooting at the tank at all. So missile launchers need some work on them. Let me show you what I mean with the SRAW. So I know there's an APC somewhere over in this direction. I've seen it on the minimap driving towards the railway flag, so I know it's here somewhere, but I can't spot it until somebody starts repairing it. Then I can see where it is roughly and fire the SRAW at the repair torch. Most of the time you have to scan around with your rifle, as I say, and the problem with this is that even if you spot another armoured vehicle, so here I'll spot an APC driving around, there it is, switch over to the SRAW and instantly lose it in the darkness and the fog, switch back to the rifle, spot it again, and then can't see it again. It's just not possible to use the SRAW effectively. But if you discount these nighttime balance issues in general and look at ZAVOD specifically, it's a very good map. The lighting effects now work a lot better, and the close-in infantry fighting in these buildings is really good. When people start using flares and torches tactically, removing laser sights because they give you away, it's a really good atmospheric firefight. It's spoilt a bit by the vehicle balance, but at the moment ZAVOD is looking really promising. Certainly a lot more promising than Goldwood Railway, but I'll cover that in the next video. I think if they fix the vehicle missile launcher balance, or maybe just remove one of the helicopters and a couple of the tanks, this map will be really good. Thanks for watching.